Hello, gentles and ladymen. I am Bison Gaming, and yes, I am on my phone this time. For the second time in a row, Age of Empires has decided to put out patch notes. In the middle of my move. Only this time it's much worse because instead of just a 3 day car ride, my computer needs repairs, and those repairs require the internet, and the internet is not working, and the technician did not come today, and will not come until next week. So what possibly could have turned into a 1 day fix turned into a 3 day fix, turned into a week-long fix, and I just simply don't want to wait that long to put out a video on the PUP, and so we are doing this. Now what this means is that my audio quality will be worse. Obviously, I am recording this on my phone, which requires me to record upright, such as this, and also, I don't have a co-commentator with me because of aforementioned internet issues, so this is just not going to be my usual quality of content when it comes to the update. But it is what it is, and I figured this is better than not pumping out anything at all. So, here we go. But yeah, we got the new PUP for the November update. Well, I mean, the quote-unquote November update. Last time we got a PUP that had a month attached to the name, we didn't get the update until literally the month afterwards, so who fucking knows when this thing's gonna release. But in any case, we are just gonna get right into it with the general balance changes. The American Citadel for the Maya fixed an issue that prevented Chinese from properly training their banner armies. Very cool. Ascari got a range multiplier versus cavalry nerf from 2 to 1.5, which is very big. The Ascari are generally pretty okay as mercenaries. They were on the upper echelon just because they had a little bit of extra range and a little bit of extra and a little bit of extra speed in exchange for less damage and HP than some of the other units. However, the fact that they no longer have quite as high of a range multiplier might bring them a little bit lower than some of the others in that case. They're very much so still a utility multiplier, a utility mercenary musketeer, but they might be a little bit less so now. Battle canoes got nerfed in damage, which is kind of fair because canoes are nuts when you get huge amounts of them. Boyars fixed an issue where the boyars in the home city would not upgrade to guard status. Okay. Command posts, no civilizations can make those anyways. Consulate units fixed several discrepancies between consulate units and their royal guard unit equivalents. This is probably keeping in mind the previous change that changed a lot of the royal guard units and how they work and gave some of them extra unique mechanics and looks. And evidently the consulate units were not actually reflective of that and were basically just standard units still. So they've fixed those discrepancies and added that 10%, I'm assuming. Corsair Marksman got a pretty sizable boost. 15 HP on a musketeer type unit is a very big deal, so we'll be looking forward to seeing some of those then. Corrected several unit attacks that were too high in cover mode. Okay, there it is. From now on, it sounds like attacks will be properly halved in cover mode, rather than some units just not being affected at all, or some units being affected lesser. Giant Grenadiers got a stat. Honestly, I think this is a buff. 2 population instead of 3 for 50 less HP is a very big deal. Although they did lose out on a fair bit of melee damage and anti-cavalry multipliers. No, they got bonus multipliers but less melee damage. They got further specialized into countering cavalry. I read that incorrectly. Granary Field Aura expanded to support an extra line of fields, so this is to say that granaries now affect fields at a much further distance than natural hunts. So you'll still have to pay attention to the aura distance for hunts, but it'll be a lot more lenient on fields, which is very nice. Napoleon gun no longer tagged as Gunpowder Trooper. XP bounties corrected. Oh, interesting. Nukta Warchief. Okay. Yep, here it is. The Nukta Warchief is no longer classified as a hero and can no longer train Nutka Clubmen. So this is almost directly a response to my series of 2 videos that I had put out on the French Nukta Warchief rush, which was a hilariously stupid and broken rush that needed nerfs. It was on the same level as Inquisitors, and you know how Inquisitors got nerfed into the ground after that came out. This is one of the only strategies I've ever created that has a 100% success rate of me trying it, of me using it. And the double Nutko War Chief rush on like Alaska was basically unstoppable, like, unless you have a very very specific anti Nutko War Chief deck, and it was really really just overblown. So the Nuclear War Chief is getting nerfed. He will no longer be classified as a hero, which means that spies will no longer affect him. However, it also means that he is no longer going to get the massive amount of buffs that you can give the Nuclear War Chief through use of the various hero cards in the game and the various techs that are associated with heroes. And additionally, he can no longer train Nuka Clubman, which basically just takes all the utility out of him and turns him into just a big Nuka, basically. It's all he is. The Ordnance Bestiero cost changed to 40 wood, 40 food, from 30 food, 30 coin. Now, this is an interesting one, and I think it's more interesting than people give it credit for. Because when the Order Bestieras obviously makes the consulate comes to mind, and that's what it specifically says in the parentheses. However, this might also change the cost for Ethiopia's Order Bestieras that they get through use of the Portugal Age Up Alliance. Which means that this could be a severe nerf to Ethiopia's Age 2 military power. By changing the cost of Order Bestieros, which were previously trained by spending 30 food and 30 coin, to 40 food and 40 wood. Now, it does say consulate in the parentheses, so there is a possibility that this is specifically a score change, but if that were the case, then they wouldn't really need to bother changing from coin to wood. So I read this as Order Bestiero as a unit, but not the actual Portuguese Order Bestieros have had a cost change of 30 food and 30 coin to 40 food and 40 wood, which means I am pretty sure that this is a massive nerf to Ethiopia. 40 food, 40 wood is a hell of a lot harder to afford compared to 30 coin and 30 food. There is something to be said, however, with bush burning, which is a great card that will allow your granaries to boost both food and wood, which would work into Bestiero production, as well as the fact that they finally have, as well as the fact that they would have access to food wood army in a food wood army composition in Age 2, as now both the crossbows and their guest Kenya would be food wood, which means that it would cycle a little bit better for a mixed army of the two in exchange obviously for having less of them and being more expensive. So there's pros and cons to this, but I think it's overall definitely a nerf. Pikemen fixed the missing range increase for just all the Royal Guard and Imperial Pikemen. Got it. Royal Hunter damage decreased from 15 to 14. Okay, cards and technologies. Advanced Stock fixed an issue that allowed sending of the card indefinitely or infinitely. That's kind of funny. Bastion, city walls, and readouts got nerfed. That really sucks as like a USA player. I don't know if readouts is the USA one, or if USA just have a different one, but USA's walls just suck when they're upgraded. They're only 3,000 HP as opposed to the 7,500 HP of the other civilizations. So there's definitely something to be said that like now it's just borderline not worth it spending 200 extra wood for such a minuscule upgrade. Caballeros maybe, fixed immunity attacks not being affected by the card, okay. Cotton Armor corrected the cost and hit point percentages, okay. Oryx Hide Shields from the Somali corrected the armor increase for units with armor stances, copy. Heavy Fortifications added a cost to 250 wood. This is interesting because you might think to yourself that 250 wood is not a big deal when you get to Age 4, but this is a big deal because this is specifically targeting civilizations like USA, which are able to do fast Imperials by simply using advanced fortifications to just bolster all of their defenses and turtle in super hard. And they're still going to be able to do that because 250 wood is about the cost of an outpost, which you would reasonably be chopping for outposts anyways to make use of heavy fortifications, but in this way it will slow you down by one outpost. And so there is something to be said that this is a nerf, and that even if they do send it immediately into age 4, it will come at the cost of slower outpost production, which is interesting. Heavy fortifications always was just an incredibly valuable card, and it'll be interesting to see what this does for the civilization. Victorian era House of Hanover. Initial cost production reduced to 10,000 food and coin, down from 11,000. I believe this is the one that automatically sends you straight to age 5 and also gives you an extra factory or some shit. I remember it being so impractical that nobody ever used it, but maybe subtracting the 1,000 makes some kind of difference. Obviously, they still need to maintain its extreme difficulty in use, but you never know. So I think I'll actually play around with the Victorian era on my own time, as soon as I obviously have a computer again, and we'll see how it changes everything. But now we got into the civilization balance. The Aztec Founder Big Button got a cost increase. Jaguar Prowler Knight promotions got nerfed. And the Citadel now adds 1 to the build limit for synergy with Mayan Pyramids. So basically, Aztecs got a nerf. Which I'm always going to be sad about, but nerfs do seem to be the standard for this patch, so I'm not going to look at it too harshly. Although this does definitely put dead a lot of very specific founder big button strategies, such as the anti-British strategy, where you just hit the founder really, really early and burn down all the houses for 240 XP apiece. But it is what it is. It definitely kills that, though, or maybe not kills it, but severely slows it down. Gentlemen of the Pike now sends 17 pikemen, up from 10. I'm pretty sure Gentlemen of the Pike was a pretty little used card with British, and it was not a card that most people played around with, so maybe that'll change that quite a bit. Dutch have go AI funny. Dutch have Blue Guard now improve upon researching the Imperial Age by 30%. Very cool. Infantry attack and infantry combat now affect Blue Guards. They're really trying to push the Dutch Blue Guard a little bit more, which is really nice, actually. Red Lancers at Religious Freedom fixed a bug where Red Lancers would lose multipliers when switching stances. Oh, weird. Ethiopians, and this one I did read also affects Hausa. Improved cannon trade. Age 4 for 250 influence can be researched after imported cannons, which is the age 3 one that allows you to get cannons at your palace for influence. Splits artillery cost into 40% influence and 60% coin. Now, this is a particularly interesting ability, as this affects Ethiopians a hell of a lot more than it does Hausa, specifically because it just says splits artillery cost. And, although, of course, this is on the surface impacting the units that you unlocked using imported cannons at the palace, importantly, it also affects the Sebastopol mortar for Ethiopians. Now, time will tell if this is actually going to be worth it in the long run, as getting imported cannons and improved cannon trade is a very, very big influence. Is a very, very big influence investment, especially with Ethiopia, which is a civ that is very front-loaded in a lot of its influence generation and really, really slows down with its influence generation in the later game. But perhaps a fast industrial where you are focused specifically on influence generation might be able to mass Sevastopols extremely quickly, especially when you consider the fact that most of the time as Ethiopia, when you get influence, it's by splitting influence and gold together, which is pretty much going to be the exact split for these cannons. So there's definitely something there There's definitely something there, and Ethiopia might be able to really get a huge mass of Sevastopols. It would be an interesting strategy to try out, and it's something that I'm going to try out myself, especially as I have been getting into Ethiopia lately, and you can probably expect some Ethiopia videos coming out. I say soon, but relatively soon because I don't have my computer, and I'm also still learning the civilization. For France, Napoleonic era fixed a bug that resulted in double population costs for Royal Musketeers and Royal Dragoons, and Sanskaloots are now considered gatherers in the UI. Very cool. Germany, Advanced Dock no longer sends a dock wagon for journeys. That's weird. Whatever. Mercenary hit points and damage increase reduced to 15% from 20, so it's just a standard combat card now. Prince Electors doubled most build limits for allied native units. That's very cool. Prince Electors will now really contribute a really large chunk to your to your military population now, or not population, but your military composition. Wallenstein's contracts no longer fully removes mercenary costs of shipments, and instead mercenaries train faster and are cheaper, including mercenary shipments, cost reduced to 1,500 coin. So there it is. Germany finally has a viable Wallenstein's contracts build again. Wallenstein's Contracts was an interesting card, and you could make build orders for it, but the build orders were short-lived because, there were a lot of you were very limited in how many mercenaries that you could, make use of it. But now that it affects all the mercenaries, including the ones you train, this is a big deal because it's going to mean that Wallenstein's Contracts is going to be a very valuable tech that can be used all the way through the end game. Zweihander, Age 4, Treaty of Westphalia, so it's the same thing. Cost reduced to 1,800 coin from 2,000. I don't remember what this one. I think it increases Doppelsoldner speed or something to that effect. Fulani Archers for Hausa, movement speed reduced, thank God. Fulanis were nuts, they had 4.5 speed and a stupid amount of range. Fixed an issue with the line of sight was less than their long-range attack. They also got the improved cannon tech, raider cost increase, lots of cost increases across this patch. It's going to be one of the themes that we see. Converted Kingdom Builders now correctly provide 200 influence, okay. Now delivers 200 coin down from 300 with the Songhai alliance from age 1 to 2. So I'm not really sure what the Songhai alliance does. I'm not super well versed in Hausa, but for those of you who do, I'm sure that is impactful to a degree. Otherwise, they wouldn't do anything. Otherwise, they wouldn't change it. And the Songhai raid ability, raider spawn ability, now takes 10 seconds, up from 5. Songhai seems like it's got quite the stuff to it. Alright, Haudenosaunee Forest Prowler nerf by 2.5 HP and one range damage. You know what though? This is justified because Forest Prowlers are nuts, and it's not just because they have good stats. They do have good stats, and they have lots of combat cards, but specifically what makes the Forest Prowler amazing is that it's much like the Eagle Runner Knight and a lot of the Aztec Noble units in that they have stats that are based in Age 3 instead of Age 2, which means combat cards give more stats to them than they do to other comparable units, which is why the Forest Prowler scales so hard, in addition to just being better than other skirmishers at similar ages. So there's definitely something to that as well. For Inca, we have Chasqui changes. Automatic damage improvements are lowered across the board. Melee damage decreased by 1. Chimu runners are nuts. They simply are. And, instead of seeing a Chimu runner nerf, I would prefer to see a Coyote runner buff to make them in line and make them both useful, but it is what it is. Haraka, damage multiplier against artillery reduced from 2.5 to 2, gets increased to 2.5 upon researching champion Harakas. So there you go. Priestesses, successful conversions now play a sound. Ooh, I wonder what the sound is. I gotta find out. Chasqui speed improvements reduced to 5%, down from 10. So this actually is quite interesting because this is obviously done because because Inca has so many speed boosts already, in addition to the Coyote Big Button, which boosts their speed and prevents snaring. But I do believe this might make it so that the Coyote Runner is actually faster than the Chima Runner when all cards have been sent. I'm not entirely sure, though. It could be close. Indians. Home city shipment XP penalty reduced from 10% to 9%. Thank you. Thank you so much. They already had 8% extra XP penalty, and increasing it to 10, you actually really, really felt. And reducing it back to 9, it's a step in the right direction. I still think it should just be back to 8, but fine, you know. The Architect now takes 34 seconds to train, up from 25, speed reduced. Fixed an issue that allowed architects to construct forts when a fort card has been sent. Haha, fuck you, 15-second fort creep is no longer a thing. Go fuck yourself. Oh my god, that was so annoying. It really, really was. Let's architect construct military buildings only faster before only walls. Oh, interesting. Okay. Scivone. Oh, go away, Tinder. Range attack reduced to 18 in age 2, but automatically increases to 20 in age 3. I'm not sure if Scivone are based in age 3 or not, and they have negative stats like with Petards or Revolutionaries when you get them early in age 2. But interesting to note that the Scivone is now nerfed. Japanese, Bakufu, age 3, Daimyo speed increase reduced to 5%, down from 10, and line of sight increase reduced to plus 10 from plus 20? Oh my god, the Daimyo got like fucking 30 line of sight? That's nuts. Why? Who needs that much line of sight? And then we have 8 Samurai in age 4, fix an issue that prevented the card from being sent again in the Imperial Age. Oh, interesting. Okay. 7 Council Fires, cost reduced, now ships 4 Club Warriors and 3 Wakinas, instead of 2 Seton Bow, 2 Club Warriors, and 3 Wakinas. Honestly, this is a nothing but a buff, because 2 and 3 is just too much of a diverse shipment to really accomplish any specific goal, especially when they all have different functions. But instead, just making it a 2-unit shipment is very much so an improvement, because it will allow your shipments not to have a focus as a composition. And in fact, Wakinas and Club Warriors do sort of make a bow-pike kind of composition together, so there is something to that. Wignacourt construction fixed range display for the aura on several buildings. Sweet! I'll always like more visual displays and auras and stuff. Mexicans advanced frontier defenses, cost reduced to 150 wood from 200. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. This is the card that's the card that ships 3 that ships 3 outposts and upgrades them to frontier status. Normally it's free in age 3, and it used to be free for Mexico's revolt, which is what this is referring to. However, they added a cost of 200 wood to it, and people stopped using it completely, but they still clearly want it to be useful, so they are reverting it back to 100. They're reverting it not back to completely no cost, but just lowering the cost a little bit, which is fine. Chinako's damage multiplier against heavy cavalry reduced to 1.2 from 1.25. Honestly, the Chinakos have no reason to have a heavy cavalry multiplier in the first place. This unit is already insane, and having the heavy cavalry multiplier puts it well into the S tier on every single cavalry tier list I've made since its release. Outlaw Combat reduced cost to 500 coin. Plan of Ayulta fixed an issue that prevented the card from enabling revolutionaries. Okay. Plan of Miramare now also improves the range of Bandito's dynamite attack. Well, that's an interesting card. Plan of Tuxtepec. Man, all the plan cards for Mexico are getting changed. Cost halved. Wow, look at that. Salvadoran coffee, Central America, now caps at 10 settlers. I am not familiar enough to know what this card is referring to. I really don't know. Oh wait, no, Central America. This is, I think, the card that sends you a settler for every shipment that you've sent in the game so far. So now it now looks like it caps at 10 settlers. I'm not sure if that's the right one, though. And then we have the third guarantee using the plan of Iguala, which I think is the advanced church card. Now reduces Hacienda hit points by 35%, down from 50. Okay, so that's a buff. Lots of little buffs for Mexico there. We have Ottoman changes, and specifically Ottoman nerfs, which I know everybody has been itching since Ottomans, let's be real, have been somewhat cancerous in this last patch, and highly oppressive. Obelisk Gunners got a very slight cost increase. They are continuing their pattern of only just barely changing the Obelisk Gunner, but in all fairness, the Obelisk Gunner was a very different unit 4 patches ago, so, these little changes do add up over time. One of their Age 4 cards no longer affects Obelisk Gunners, but Ottoman Heavy Infantry instead. So we have less buffs going to the Obelisk Gunner as well, but more buffs to the Janissary, which I don't think anybody think they need. The Azap got nerfed. Look at that! Cost increased to 55 food and 40 wood from 55 food, 35 wood, and train time to 29 seconds from 27. Corrected damage multipliers in melee from ranged shock infantry to shock infantry. So look at that. People finally started to catch on to how OP Azaps were, and they had to revert it. You can tell with the last several patches, with the various small buffs that Azap's got, that the devs really wanted you to use them, because they were OP, but nobody realized it, because people who play Ottomans have played Ottomans the same way since 2005. Humbarasi cost increase by 5 coin, that seems to be just a thing, and the Yaruk Town Center construction rate slowed down to minus 50% from minus 15. I'm not sure what this means, but I do know it means that they get settlers slower. So that's a thing. Portuguese, Grape Shot, fixed an issue that prevented from some organ guns from moving after shipping this card. Oh, that's a weird one. Ordinenka no longer improves hit points of crossbowmen and pikemen. Pikemen now gain extra hit points and damage from their guard upgrade instead. Okay, so pikemen now get a guard upgrade. Crossbow no longer benefit from valor promotions, but instead have their cost reduced and are given rifles. Oh, that's interesting. So Portuguese can turn their crossbows into rifle units similar to Germany and their landwares. That's very, very cool. I'm definitely gonna have to test that out in a game and maybe make a video on it. And cost increased to 2,000 food, good lord. And moved to Age 4, icon updated. Okay, so never mind, that's a huge fucking nerf. Okay, Order Bestiaros no longer reduces hit crossbowman costs. And the organ gun has target lock removed. Look at that. Target lock removed. I guess they realized that, the organ gun was really, really good, and it shouldn't be on the same level as the Gatling gun, because, USA is really, really based around its heavy infantry Gatling gun combo, and Portugal is not. So it is what it is. The organ gun is now clearly worse than the Gatling gun because of how important target lock is. But, suck it. I don't play Portugal, so I don't give a shit. Russians fixed the grunt voices of the recruit and Portuchik. They got 6 Portuchiks added to the home city. Those are the halberdiers, for those of you who forgot. They got a 17 Hussar card. Even for 2,000 coin, that's nuts, because, Russia doesn't have access to Hussars normally, and 17 Hussars is a hell of a lot of cavalry. That is a big fucking mass to just bear down on somebody in the 4th age. That's like a game-ending card, potentially, if your opponent is not prepared to counter a huge mass of cavalry. This is going to turn into a card that people will look out for when Russia hits Age 4. It's going to turn into a Russia's hit Age 4. I need to look at their deck. Oh shit, they have 17 Hussars. I need to start preparing. That's how Russia is going to feel now when they get to the 4th age. It's going to be very, very similar to how I think Hausa had the ability to just make a huge amount of Yoruba Esso riders and ends the game where once they got to a certain point, and it's going to be very similar here, where they're going to hit that point and everybody's going to be like, oh shit, we need anti-cav right the fuck now. Landed granary moved to age 1. Okay, sure. Portochick, these are the halberdiers, got extra HP and extra damage. Upgrades now scale from about minus 20% lower base values. Interesting. So this is honestly a much needed change, and largely because the Portochick didn't have any bonuses that it had. It didn't have anything it did better than the Musketeer. Despite the fact that it was more expensive. They were basically just musketeers, but without the range attack. And so buffing them just slightly like this will help give them a separate identity from the musketeer. SAR Cannon in Age 4 fixed a bug that allowed setting the card again in the Imperial Age, added a cost of 200 coin. I'm not sure what this card does right off the top of my head, so it is what it is. Settler train time now reduced by 25% instead of 33%. So there you go. The Walloon Guards, for Spanish, in Age 4, Royal Cree to claim the New World. Cost reduced to 2,000 coin from 3,000. I'm not sure what this card is. I mean, I know it's a big unit shipment, but I don't remember what units it is specifically. You'll have to let me know in the comments down below. Alright, United States. Carbine Cavalry rate of fire slowed down. That is totally fair. The Carbine Cavalry was slightly overtuned. I personally found it perfectly justified, considering how long the unit was fucking useless, but this should bring it down in line back to other Dragoon type units, and they'll be just fine. Morris Canal, future shipments arrive in 10 seconds, up from 5. So Morris Canal nerf, which is kind of weird because very few people used Morris Canal except for like really weird fast Imperial strategies, which, I mean, a 5-second difference is not a huge change when it comes to a 13-minute fast Imperial, just saying. Boston Tea Party, coin conversion rate down to 15% from 25%. This is an interesting one because this is their conversion card, and the outstanding thing about this conversion card is that it's locked behind a federal age up, and in addition to the conversion, gives you 200 and I think either 250 or 350 flat coin on top of the conversion. And with this lowered conversion rate, that really, really does stress the idea that Boston Tea Party is intended to be an early game conversion card with a larger focus on flat bonuses rather than pure conversion economic gain. So I think Boston Tea Party will not really be used anymore because even though it was encouraged as an early game card, it wasn't able to compete with things like Pennsylvania, and further specializing it as a early game card without actually buffing the early game portion is not going to really change anything. So I feel like if we get another patch and Boston Tea Party has additional flat coin that's added on top of the 350, like if they increase the 350 to like 450, then we could really, really see this, or 253. I don't really remember what it is currently, but I feel like if they want to make Boston Tea Party usable, making it have a low conversion rate in addition to being locked behind a very specific Age 2 federal state, they are going to need to increase the flat gain that you get from it to encourage early use of it. Otherwise, it's just never going to be used. Even I stopped using it after a while because Pennsylvania just started to outclass it after a while. Advanced Homesteading now adds 5 population space to mills and estates, down from 10, and line of sight by +8, down from 15. This one's kind of a shame. Advanced Homesteading was a really central card to some very specific strategies, but I suppose you gotta nerf the German immigrants somehow, you know? Because German immigrants with Advanced Homesteading was just nuts. Admittedly, it really, really was. Connecticut Shipwrights improves artillery train time by 15%, down from 25, and for heavy cannons by 10%. This is fair. Connecticut Shipwrights was one of the core central cards that you could use to get USA's heavy cannon production down to a hilariously low 17 seconds per heavy cannon. And I do know that's one of the things that, with this change with the United States, is that they are really, really cracking down on USA's ability to spam out heavy cannons faster than fucking than the Flash. So Connecticut Shipwrights, I do think of all the cards that they could have left alone, Connecticut Shipwrights is probably the least egregious of all of the heavy cannon train time cards, specifically because it is once again an Age 5 Imperial Federal card, which also requires you to sacrifice things like Illinois or New York in order to get. So now there's not really a whole lot of reason to go for Connecticut shipwrights, although there is still the 3 heavy cannon shipment, which is pretty cool, but not particularly special in Age 5, as you might expect. Hamiltonian economics now correctly improves market buy rates by 5%. Oh, cool. They got a little. Economics got a little bonus. That's neat. Indiana mobilization. This is honestly a hilariously underused card. Indiana Mobilization sends 1 Carbine Cavalry per shipment you sent so far in the game, and reduces the train and research time of everything in your civilization by 10%. And now it no longer reduces the train time to heavy cannons. Well, this is once again a nerf to the 17-second training of heavy cannons, as Indiana Mobilization was one of the cards integrated in order to achieve that. So it's honestly fair, because it is honestly fair. It really is. Indiana Mobilization will still affect everything else, including age up times, so I'm fine with that, personally. And Nox Artillery Train improves the train time of horse artillery by 20%, down from 25, and heavy cannons by 10%, down to 15. So there it is. You got another 5% reduction to heavy cannons. They still get their, 75% HP boost, or whatever it was. I think 25% HP boost. So they didn't change the HP buff, but they did change they did change the train time again. They're really, really trying to slow down USA's hilarious heavy cannon production bullshit, which is fair. It really is. I've been abusing that for a very long time. Kentucky Hunters at a cost of 500 coin. 500 is really expensive. That's more expensive than the 250 wood that it used to cost before it gave all those. It gave the stuff that it did now. So I don't really know that 500 coins a fucking lot. They feel like they're just really hitting a lot of USA's federal cards here. 250 wood added to the Kentucky coalfields, so Kentucky just as a whole is heavily nerfed, and maybe Tennessee will become the meta now. Who knows? I personally would be totally fine with seeing a Tennessee meta though, because Tennessee is really fun. So German immigrants cost increased to 250 wood, up from 200. This is more expensive than French immigrants now, which is fair because German immigrants is the more economic version of the two. German immigrants is a fantastic card. However, it is a card that you need to make a build for. This is not a card that you are going to send in instead of your French immigrants when you're doing a fast fortress. German immigrants is a card that you send with the intention of booming in Age 2. That is what it is. And if you're doing anything else, such as a rush or a fast fortress, then French immigrants is the better option, and that is more specific and clear with this change here. But it was slightly overtuned, and it was one of the best abilities in the game. But now with German immigrants costing more, and advanced homesteading providing half the population it does, that will really, really slow down the insane USA population, the USA boom, without being too harsh on it, and still making it viable, which is interesting, and I like that a lot. Revolutions Outlaw Combat cost of 750 coin removed for all revolutions except Baja California. That's funny. Fixed a duplicate appearance of this card when revolting to Malta from Malta. Oh, interesting. Argentina added several buildings and mercenary cards. Okay. Barbary States added a combat card for Corsair Marksmen and Barbary Warriors. So Barbary States seems to be really pushed, especially with that really, really sizable 15 HP Corsair Marksman buff. Argentina added several buildings and mercenary cards is not something that we should look over, because the last time they did something with this was Revolutionary USA, which had a ton of super insane strategies that you could build around it. And I do happen to know that they looked at Revolutionary USA in this patch as well, because of my Discord. Brazil House of Honor now grants the Legion Dragoon upgrade for Portuguese Dragoons. Canada added several native cards, so we might want. Ooh, I'd love to see some Canadian fast revolt native strategies. That sounds like a ton of fun. Because normally, native strategies are pretty locked into Age 2. There's not too many civilizations that can really do, like, industrial native strategies. Pretty much just being Mexico and USA, but now pretty much anybody with the Canada Revolt can do that. So I think that also includes France. I'm not sure who else can do the Canada Revolt. Maybe Britain. That would probably make the most sense. Egypt ranged infantry combat added a combat card for the Fusiliers. Finland added a cost of 500 added cost for several things, and now the Karelian Jaegers can construct arsenals. Haiti, some changes. I'm not really seeing anything super big here. Peru has several Inca cards, and the one fort has been replaced with one stronghold. So basically a nerf, but some new Inca cards are nice, and maybe there's some stuff there. I'm really curious to see the Argentina several building and mercenary cards. I wonder what those building cards could be. Okay, South Africa. This is a relevant one because of that video that me and Junimai released recently regarding the fast Uber strategy, which allows you to carry things like Jaguar Prowlers around the map at 8 speed. They lost their Infinite One Fort card. Rod Saul, South Africa. I'm not sure what this card is. At a cost of 500 coin, reduces the discounts for deforestation, excessive taxation, and large-scale agriculture to 20% from 25. Oh, okay. So it's a card that reduced the cost that made imperial economic upgrades available and reduced their cost. Copy. Trek Wagon, hit points reduced to 350 from 450. This will make it a lot easier to snipe out the Uber driver when doing the fast Uber strategies. This could have some really, really big impacts on our fast Uber strategy. And Wagon Warfare in South Africa, cost increased to 1,000 wood, up from 400. Man, that is a big cost increase, and now it takes 60 seconds to arrive, up from 40. I don't even remember Wagon Warfare being particularly good, so that's nuts. All right, the Revolutionary United States. This was a card that I had a lot. This was a revolt that I had a lot of fun with. And specifically, I made a card about Knowlton's Rangers, and you see Knowlton's Rangers received more changes than just about anything else here. So there's I can't confirm it, but there is a decent likelihood that the Knowlton Rangers changes here are a direct response to my video in which I created 7-speed, 30 range, 7-speed and 30 range spies using the Assassin's card and Military Drummers. They also had 7-speed, 30 damage, 20 range. They literally, like, in the video, I was kiting Hussars and Cuirassiers with Skarms and actually getting away with it. It's nuts. Cost increase. So the Sappers now costs 800 coin, up from 500, and sends 6 petards, down from 10. This is the card that sends stealth petards and enables stealth petards at your artillery foundry. So now, this is just a thing now where the stealth it's going to be more expensive and you're going to get less of them, but you're still going to be able to train them, once you actually send them. All right, Knowlton's Rangers cost doubled from 500 food to 1,000 food. That is rough. That basically just kills the strategy all by itself. And heavily limited benefits from agents, assassins, military drummers, and comparable cards. Oh, that's funny because my video specifically mentions the 3 cards: agents, assassins, and military drummers. Oh, that is so... Okay, so this pretty much is confirmed to be a direct response to my video, right? That makes at least 3 things I can directly link back to my channel as cause for nerfs. I'm pretty proud of that, I'm not gonna lie. Range reduced from 12 down to 16, and hit points confined to 240. Oh, that's so funny. They are hitting this unit hard. You would have 16 range, but Revolutionary USA had a card that you could send to boost that by 4 and get it up to 20. Well, now it's 12, and you can boost it to 16. And then the hit points have been confined. So they will not go over 240 HP no matter what. That is really, really funny. Negative damage multipliers against heavy cavalry now apply to all cavalry. So yeah, so the unit will also lose to goons now, in addition to, just about everything else. This is so funny. So I actually find this hilarious. They didn't just nerf this unit, they gutted it. That was the whole thing about Revolutionary United States that I made the video about, is that you can ignore all of Revolutionary USA's units and just make the Knowlton Rangers and the stealth petards and just have your way with somebody. And it was really, really funny. Nox Continental Artillery now costs 1,000 wood, up from 500, really nerfing Revolutionary USA. Fixed an issue where culverins had no voiceovers. Yeah, Revolutionary USA was really, really good, though. For those of you who are unaware, take a look at the video, at my video on the Revolutionary USA. It's the one that has Sonic holding a gun as the thumbnail. Really, really crazy stuff. Honestly, this is one of the most fun strategies you can have, just because of how goofy and creative it is, and use it before it's gone, because once it's gone forever, and you will never be able to use it to the same degree that you can now. So, it is such a fun strategy, so please do yourself a favor, watch my video, and do the fast revolt to Continental US. It's really, really fun. And then we have Lee's Continental Light Dragoons, fixed a bug that prevented the Dutch from receiving Guard Carbine Cavalry. Gotcha. And then several map changes. Okay. And that will do it for today, gentles and ladymen. Thank you so much for watching. Really, it's mostly nerfs. There's not a whole lot of new content here. Not a lot of new strategies that can be based around. There are a couple new things that I will be hopefully making videos on when the update comes out. But this was really just a patch largely fixed on not introducing anything new and pulling back some of the crazy factor that DE has introduced. So very interesting stuff. I'm sure Platypus Slayer will be very, very happy, because he hates new stuff and crazy shit, and just wants the game to kind of calm down a little bit. So this will hopefully make him happy, because this is exactly what he wants, or at least it's exactly what he's been asking for. But yeah, comment down below what you think, what things you want me to showcase out for a video, or tell me that you tried out the new Revolutionary USA strategy that I put out about a month ago, and that it's actually the coolest thing ever, because it really, really is. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.